This is The Bottom Line, a show designed to help Australian businesses succeed. On the show, you'll hear from leading Australian business owners as they share the lessons they've learned building their companies. You'll learn from their successes as well as some of the challenges they faced along the way. We also talk to experts from a range of fields who share specialised techniques you can use to improve your business. I'm your host, Savan Tuna, and I'm a director at Alexander Spencer, and I'm really passionate about helping Australian businesses succeed. Great design might start with a spark of inspiration, but turning that into a successful business takes grit, vision, and a whole lot of hard work. So how do you create products that do more than just serve a purpose? Ones that actually tell a story. Joining us today on The Bottom Line is James Pridgeon, founder of Steel Window Design. Since 2014, James and his Melbourne-based team have been creating handcrafted steel windows and doors. Their work has earned a national reputation for combining precision, style, and genuine commitment to quality. In this episode, we dive into James's journey, how he turned an idea into a standout Australian brand, how he juggles creativity and commercial growth, and what he's learned along the way in the world of design-led manufacturing. Let's dive in. James, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Savan. Thanks for having me.
We've been talking about The Bottom Line and getting you on for a little while. I know you're a fan, so I'm excited to have you on. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, big fan. Thank you.
Now, let's start simple. How do you usually describe what you do?
I've been asked over the years, like, what do I do? And I always think of the elevator pitch, and I'm like, I don't have one. What is the thing that I do? But we manufacture windows and doors. That's, I guess, the product we make. But what we really do is like we turn, a basic steel product into something pretty exciting that people love. So, yeah, that's what we do. If that's my elevator pitch, we do beautiful windows and doors, the best.
You do beautiful windows and doors. We met a long time ago. You did our doors in the old office and you put a beautiful door in our little events and kitchen area here. So we love your product. It looks so cool. But take us to the beginning. What did your career look like before manufacturing windows and doors?
Never thought I'd go into window and door manufacturing, to be honest. I knew I wanted to do something through school. Didn't really love school, got out of school, needed a job, wanted money, wanted to sort of get my life going. I wanted independence, essentially. And so got into a job. I went to TAFE. I did a few things. Like I did aerospace engineering. Never finished it. Did civil engineering. I actually did that while I had my first job. But before that, I tried a computer systems engineering. And at this stage of my life, we're talking 18, 19, I was like, what do I want to do? Like, I don't know what I want to do. I'd walk into a classroom of 30 people. And I'm like, this isn't for me. Like, I don't think I want to spend 4 years doing computer systems engineering because I'd always look at the end goal. Like, what am I going to be doing in 4 years or 5 years or 6 years? So long story long, what I ended up doing was I got a job while I was at TAFE doing engineering for the aviation. Did that. It was good being at TAFE. It wasn't what I loved. The maths was challenging. There was a few things where my mind could see the challenge in maths and other things. I'm like, it's not really for me. Like I want to do more. So then I got a job for a civil engineer doing drafting. And long story short with that one is when I got the job, he said to me, no, sorry, I need someone with more experience. And I said, oh, okay, well, more experience, I don't have it. I'll work hard. I'll work for little money. I'll do all the things you need. And he goes, I'm not sure. I said, can I come back in a week? And he got me to draw a few samples to get the job. And he said, no, sorry, they're not good enough. I said, can I come back in a week and I'll show you what I can draw? He goes, all right, come back in a week and show me what you can draw, like big deal sort of thing. And I went back a week later. He saw me and he goes, I'm giving you the job. And I said, oh, why is that? And he said, because you went away, you didn't even really know what I drew for you and what I wanted you to draw. And you've gone away, you've thought about it, tried to draw it as best you could off memory. You've come back. It's not perfect, but the fact that you actually put effort into it, you've got the job. So I started on a trainee job for a civil engineer. This is back in, when I was 19, 20. Did that for 4.5 years. He was a really nice guy, taught me a lot. Wasn't what I wanted to do long term. I thought I wanted to do engineering. So while I was doing that, I studied engineering. Didn't love that either. It was night schools. I was doing 4 nights a week, trying to have a relationship, pay my mortgage, have a life. It wasn't working well, but it was leading me in the right direction. And then from there, we went to London. So my partner at the time, Charlotte, and the same partner still to this day, 20 years actually, we went to London. And that was a really nice way to get out of a job that I wasn't loving, but also try something new. And that's where it forced me into window elevations in London, working for an architect. I couldn't get a job there. And same kind of deal. I'd do anything. I was going to work at a mailroom, a cafe, put me anywhere. I'll do the best I can. I'm a hard worker. And I got a job where they rang me and they said, we need you for 3 days. And I said, 3 days? Like, I'll take it. I'll take anything. I think I was buying a pair of shoes at the time when I got the phone call. I'm like, when do you need me? And they're like, come in today. They want to meet you. If you pass, you've got the job for 3 days. I thought, wow, I'm really getting to new lows here. But I'm like, I'll do it. I'll do anything. Charlotte, my partner, she had a fantastic job, but, I couldn't get anything. So I went in and talked to these guys. I worked for an American boss, essentially. He ran a really cool architectural company over there. I walked in the door. He's like, talk to this guy. If he likes you, you've got the job. So I talked to this guy. I got the job essentially for 3 days. By day 3, he goes, yep, come back next week. It ended up being a job for 1.5 years, which was good. So for me, it was like, I'll work hard. I'll try and like get past things that I can't. If people give me a challenge, I'll try and beat it or at least try and do better. So I worked for an architect for 1.5 years and I did window systems. And that was like eye-opening. That was some complex AutoCAD sort of stuff. It was fun. Didn't think I liked Windows. I didn't really love Windows from drawing Windows, but it was interesting. Traveled, did all those fun things, came back to Melbourne, couldn't get a job. It was 2011, 2012, right in that time where the economy didn't know if it was coming or going. Couldn't get a job. And I tried to get a job with Metricon. Everyone knows Metricon. I'm thinking well, I'm a good draftsman. I've got 6-7 years drafting experience. Like, I'll get a job in Metricon. I'll get a job anywhere. Nope. Couldn't get a job. I didn't have the piece of paper. And that sort of frustrated me. Like, not having a piece of paper, I knew I was good at what I was doing. I knew I wanted to do more. So I said, you know what? It's a good time. I'll start my own business drafting things for people. Because in a lot of engineering and architectural companies, if you need something done when your workload increases, do you want to go and hire 2 new people, or do you want someone to sort of fulfill those needs in that short-term basis? It might be a month of extra work. It might be a project. It could be different things. And so I thought, I'm going to start a company that does overflow drafting. And that was actually what I called it. It was like overflow drafting. It was a terrible name really, but it was to the point. Didn't succeed so well. I networked. I got work. I made money. Like, I didn't not make money doing it, but it was a hard concept for people to grasp. I'm like, okay, I'm working hard here, trying to get this idea out. Didn't work entirely. But what it did do is I met people, which was good. And that led me to do some drawings for a company that was doing plastic wall systems, which I think I might have told you in the past on some other meetings. But we did a plastic wall system and he said, we're using this wall system and it's costing us, like, it's an expensive product. It's really good. It's cheaper because it's easier to handle, but it's expensive if we waste a lot of it. We can't use the waste. So I came in, I started drawing basically all their projects with this plastic wall system, like elevation by elevation. It was enjoyable. I liked the challenge of trying to save this guy money. And he goes, you're doing it so well. I want you to go on the sites and I want you to manage the guys who are installing this wall system.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different, right? That's really getting in the trenches. And I'm thinking
like, wow, now you're throwing me in the deep end. And I sort of putting some of my skills, but not all of my skills, some skills I didn't have. I got thrown right in there. I'm dealing with like 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds going, James, like, get out of here. Like, why are you telling me we got to do it like this or do it like that? And so we ended up saving like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per project, or varying degree, I guess. I can't say every single project, but we saved a lot of money. It was working really well. I'm managing 6 building sites. I was having the time of my life. That sort of had to come to an end because it was sort of becoming it was running itself. We needed a draftsman. They had the product, but what we actually worked out was a better system where you didn't have to draw every single product. We just got smarter with how we ordered it. So my needs were becoming probably less important. It was a bit messy. It was like some extended family, how I got this job.
Yeah.
It got messy. I'm like, I got to do my own thing. I got to get out. And then what happened was I got out. Charlotte's dad goes, I know a company, they need someone, just a jack of all trades, to draw some windows and, help with their sort of production line stuff. And I said, okay, like, I'm open to it. It's in Carrum Downs. You're in like Coburg. I'm like, great. Another good job.
And the only thing in common is it starts with C.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, great. Like, okay, it's the other end of Melbourne. It sounds like no promise whatsoever. I got to go and draw things and let me do it. I'm interested. I'm open to it. So I ended up going to a steel window company. So this is the real lead in. I went to a steel window company to draw their windows. It was interesting. So I was drawing their windows, and then by default working with their fabrication team, which at the time for this company was a separate company. So I would liaise between what a client wanted and what they had to build. And that's how I really got into the world of steel window designs, all through Charlotte's dad, who randomly goes, I'm putting people together. Here's two people that should talk. And that's how it happened. And so I was working for a company there. They were doing some beautiful steel windows and doors. The company wasn't sort of running ultra efficiently, wasn't a smooth operating. There's some sort of tension behind the scenes. And I thought, this is interesting, like, great. So I got really on board, helped them grow some stuff. But I said to the boss one day, he goes, I said to him, like, do you want me to help fix some of these like little problems that I'm seeing? Like, you've got like a really dysfunctional sort of separation between two elements of your company. Nah, we're fine. We've sorted it. It's all under control. Like, you do your thing. I'll do my thing. And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. I couldn't just let it be. It was,
okay. So what did you do? You fixed it, or what was the...
I'm an honest, loyal person, I promise. What I did was I told him the problem still. He said, great, thank you for, telling me that, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. And I said, great. I still couldn't sleep. And I thought, I got to do something. So turns out, if I go into more detail, there was two business partners in this business. They were having problems behind the scenes.
Okay.
One wanted out, one wanted the other out. I happened to be at a time and place where a business partner was going out, and I said, do you want to go out together? Like, do you want to go out and do something together? So I actually had a business partner for 3 months.
For 3 months?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So you went out. So that's it. So you then left.
Yep.
You said, look, I'm going to do this on my own. You don't want to be here anymore. Come with me.
Yep.
And we'll do it together.
Yep, essentially.
Was it her leaving that said, I want to start?
That was the trigger. Like, I can't pat myself on the back and say it was all me, in the sense her sort of forced exit was my opportunity to say,
go
hey,
with her. Let's do it together.
You're going. Let's do something together. It turns out we did that. Like, that's what happened. That would have been March 2014, roughly around that time. By June 2014, I decided that I'd sort of designed the logo, the website, found the fabrication team, found the powder coating company, done a lot of stuff, all the drawing stuff, like developed the drawings. I sort of thought to myself, and no disrespect to the partner at the time, was I don't think this is what I want to do. Like, I don't think I want to have a partner at this early stage, because I'm bringing a lot of the stuff that's going to build this company up from the bottom and the way I want to do it. I don't want to be driven by sales at the start. I want to be driven by sales at the end.
And was she like in charge of sales? That was her value?
Her value was quoting and sales. That was her skill.
What was that conversation like?
That was tough. I didn't have a big network of family and friends who sort of, I don't want to insult anybody when I say it, I didn't have a large group of family and friends who truly believed in what I was doing, because I think they sort of thought like, oh, here we go, going to start a business, no formal education, all the typical things that people look at. He's going to flunk it. And so I sort of spoke to my dad and stepmom at the time. I spoke to Charlotte and her dad at the time. And they're like, look, do what you want, but you're making the right decision to want to exit it. So we had basically, I bought her out in a cheap sense. Like, we were small at the time, paid for things, gave money back, settled the loan. We had a $100,000 overdraft, got rid of all that, and off we went.
I reckon I probably met you probably about 12 months after, maybe 2 years later. So I reckon
that's
about 2 years.
Would have been about 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So, just enough time to have bad tax problems.
Bad tax problems.
No, it was a timely meeting, I will say.
I will say. No, it was great to meet you. But tell us sort of the journey of steel window design. So you set it all up. What was the vision you had at the time? What were you trying to build? And has it worked out to where you thought at the time? Or was it just, let's just grind it out. Let's just see what happens.
It is a lot of that. You might laugh. I wanted a job. I'm not going to lie. I wanted a job. I wanted a job where I was in control. And at the time I was 27. I didn't think, wow, I'm going to go back to uni and get all this paperwork and I'm going to be I looked at people at NAB and other companies doing amazingly well. And they all went to university and I thought, yeah, I just want a job. I just want to earn. And I had in my mind, and it might have been at the time, I could be making this up, $80,000 or whatever it was. I just wanted to earn some money. And I thought, if I can do it in a way that I know how, with the skills that we've sort of like forming, perfect. Like, I can control my destiny. I didn't actually think it would ever turn into what it's turned into now. And hopefully I say that in 10 years, but it's turned out for the better. But when I started it, I don't have a fairy tale story.
Yeah, where you said, I want to, be national and turn over 50 million. And you didn't have this. But, sometimes having that real step one goal and getting that over the line is really important, because I think it's important to also have the bigger vision so you kind of know where you're heading and what those paths looks like. But there's also a value of going, I just need to jump that first hurdle, stay in business, make at least a salary that I could otherwise have gotten somewhere else, and we recoup after that, or we reset after that. So I think people forget that, sometimes you just got to get past the first hurdle. It's okay, good to look at the finishing line. And you should have that in mind as you go through the first hurdle, but you still got to go through the first hurdle.
Yeah. Like, what's the point of getting too excited if you can't make a profit, or you can't know if you're going to make a profit or not? Or for me, it was, and I never forget, it was Christmas of 2014 and I'm sitting in my lounge room. So this was started in a lounge room in Coburg. Everything was subcontracted. I was the runner around. I was doing everything. It was on the back of a four-wheel drive, but I sat there with a whiteboard and I had $8,000 in my business account. And I remember looking at that whiteboard and going, if I had to pay anybody out right now, I haven't spent any money. I'm living off Charlotte's income. We've got a little bit of savings, but I haven't had to borrow any money, and I haven't had to, if I had to pay everybody out, the money's sitting there.
Can you expand on those early stages, those early days, early years, setting the business up, finding the clients? Take us through that first entrepreneurial journey of the business, or the growing of the business. What was that like?
It was a fun time. It was a lot of work, 12, 14-hour days, but it was a lot of fun. It was kind of interesting. We had problems in the beginning. We needed fabrication work done, so we had to build our windows and doors. I knew what we wanted to build. I knew how we wanted to build it, and I needed a team to do it. And it wasn't like I had the budget to have a team to do it. So there was no employing someone to do it. It was always going to be subcontracted in those early 24-month period or more. And so what happened was actually kind of exciting. Like, we didn't have anything lined up. So I tried gate manufacture. I tried to excite people because I knew what it should cost to fabricate a window and a door.
Yeah.
So here I am rocking up into this metal fabrication world, going to somebody, I'm going to give you $7,000 to build these windows and doors. And they're going, you're crazy. I can do it for $3,000.
Oh, okay.
And you're going like, well, I know you can do it for $3,000, but I don't want crap. I want something, tangible. I want something that I can use, I can stand by and build a brand on. So that was definitive from day one. I never deviated from quality day one. It was challenging day one to get the quality we wanted. So I went to gate manufacturers. I won't call them backyard fabricators, but I went to some sort of cool dude fabricators, like, let's say, and they were great guys, like
more like artists.
Yeah, exactly. Tattoos, exactly.
The long beards.
Yeah, and kind of like, I need this by, Friday next week. Well, how about Friday next month? And you're like, well, look, this isn't going to work. And one of the cool projects we signed up in the early days, it was for quite a big builder. And the deal was in South Australia. It was actually for the casino in South Australia. One of our first proper job. I'm like, well, I want to do this job. And the deal was, and I'll never forget, I was driving down the hill on Bell Street and the builder's on the phone to me and he goes, I've got your price. I need this job in 4 weeks. I think it was 4 weeks, maybe 4.5 weeks. He's like, I need this job in 4 weeks. And it was a big building company. I won't say who, but it was a big building company. And they go, no, if you can't do it in 4 weeks, you don't get the job. And I said, oh, but to do that, we need to do overtime. It's going to cost extra, blah, blah. I don't care. Send me a price. I want it in 4 weeks. And if you can't do that, see you later. So I upped the price a little bit. He was upfront about it. I was upfront about it. And I remember the price, like $27,000 or whatever it was. And he goes, great, I need it in 4 weeks. I said, we'll commit to that. And he goes, no, you don't get it. If I don't get it in 4 weeks, there's going to be other problems. I said, okay, 4 weeks it is. Like, we're going to do it. Don't worry. So I just remember turning my car around, going back to one of these fabricators and going like, I need this drawing in 4 weeks. So I drew it really quickly. I went around, I saw everybody that day and everybody was like, oh, no, I'm pretty busy. And I had to commit to something. It sounds stupid. Like, I've committed to something before I should have, but I was wording these different fabricators up every single day. Like, guys, I've got this one coming maybe. I've got this one coming maybe. Anyway, so I got this guy, the unexpected guy, and he's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, great, let's do this. He goes, I can start in a week.
Oh, you don't want to hear that?
Yeah, and I'm like, a week, that's probably the best I'm going to get. So I cut the steel in my driveway. And
you cut the steel?
Yeah, I cut the steel. I prepped the steel. I got it ready. I'm like, this is not going to get me to not succeed. Got the steel to him in pieces and he just looked at me. He's like, what are you doing?
Doesn't the fabricator cut the steel?
Yeah, they do it all. Yeah.
So you've gone, hey, I've done the first week's job that you delayed.
Yeah.
I've done it for you.
Yeah. And then everything after that was basically a complaint of how I cut it. But beyond that, we got the job done. I loaded it onto my car at the time, the trailer, and I had a 30-year-old trailer, loaded onto the trailer, drove it to South Australia. And I remember these guys at the casino going like, oh, wow, like that was quick. We didn't expect that. I'm like,
Actually, how many days early were you on 4 weeks?
we would have been a couple of days early. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like probably 2 or 3 days early. And I'll be lying if I said I know exactly, but I remember getting there on a Wednesday, I reckon it was, and they were putting those windows in the next day.
So
Like,
it was not BS. The
yeah,
4 weeks
it
was
wasn't,
real.
and they're still there to this day.
I was going to
And,
ask you that.
Go to the casino, you'll see steel windows on the outside. I'm going to be lying if I truly remember. I think some are arch, and if they're not arch, I'm telling a lie, but there's double doors, there's some fixed windows all the way. They're still there, still working.
Well, they're definitely a product that lasts, that's for sure. So manufacturing is tough though in Australia, and you would have obviously had a lot of challenges along the way, and as you've grown, maybe those challenges are different. But take us through a business in terms of manufacturing. What are the biggest challenges that you face maybe today?
What we've found, and this is like from day one to today, which hasn't changed, is our output is basically dictated by what we can fabricate. To get another fabricator or to grow our fabrication skills and team, it's hard. It's extremely hard getting people, getting skilled people, getting reliable people. Like we work hard on the reliable part. Like we have a great team, but just to get people in general, and I'm going to say it's probably Australia wide at a good pay rate, reliable sort of workers, clever guys, nice guys, girls and guys, anybody, it's hard. That is our pursuit. We've got things on French in Melbourne, Facebook pages. Like we're looking all over the place. Backpacker website, and we do look globally. So I'm on projectors in schools in Korea. I've done video conferences, relationships with schools over South Korea, France. We've got flyers out all over France. Like we're talking to a lady now who's looking after find us some staff at the moment in Malaysia, Philippines. Like we want anybody. Like we're not trying to pick who we hire. We just want quality. And the problem we have with our business, the challenge we've faced from day one is get too many fabricators and not sell enough. You're wasting money or losing money. Sell enough and not have enough fabricators. We're constantly chasing our tail. So I don't think that's ever got easy. And the bigger we get, the easier it gets, but it's still a challenge because it's like me saying to you, you can make more money this year, but you can't.
Yes.
Because you can't get the people. And you go, I know. And it's like, if I get the people, I've got to train them, get them ready. And I hope the sales are still there by the time I've done all that. And I'm sure that's business-wide. I'm sure that's a cafe right through to an accounting firm, whatever you want. I'm sure you all struggle with the same problems, but that's our problem too.
But the fabricator part's probably the harder part because, there probably isn't a degree or a TAFE course. So take us through that actually. What does it take to be a fabricator? I guess it's a trade now. Yeah,
so in Australia, so dating back, and I don't know the full history of how all the TAFEs have worked in Australia right back to the 60s or so, but basically there's a course in TAFE. So there's metal fabrication and there's boilermaker. The steel fabrication was something people chose to do back in the day, and you still can choose it now, but a lot of people will sort of focus on boiler making. But it's not for me to talk it down or anything, but I don't know of any boilers really being made in Australia anymore or anything like that. But the skill itself is still there. It's just on a much smaller scale. And we don't treat in Australia a boiler maker or a steel fabricator the same way we would treat a restaurant manager or something. Like it's just something where someone goes, well, why would I do that? Like, why would I go through school and become a metal fabricator? We were told for years, these are jobs that are dying out. Like we don't need to have these jobs in our country. And now manufacturing, we don't have these jobs. And the TAFEs are even going like, we're kind of shrinking. We should be like growing.
And it makes it hard because now you're doing video calls in Korea, you got flyers in France and all over the place because of what's happened over the years in manufacturing. But it doesn't help the small amount of manufacturing we do have left. So it's interesting. And take us through that scenario where the people versus the output. You were really big on quality. Your quality is what sets you up and sets you apart. How did you then manage? You got all this, just enough fabricators, you're backlogged with work. Did you get to a point where you're like, guys, work faster, work quicker? And really, how did you balance that quality craftsmanship that you really wanted versus the backlog of jobs you needed to get? And how did you get through that?
So a two-part answer on that is, for context, we've never lied about our lead times. So as a business, we've never said you'll get your job in 6 to 8 weeks but really I'm giving it to you in 12. We've never done that. And we may have the odd delay on a project where we do have to talk to our client, say, look, it's running 3 days late or whatever it might be. But through the 11 years we've been in business, we've never like lied about that element of our business. So to go back to taking on work, we have lost a lot of good projects because we don't have the staff to back it up essentially. We're constantly trying to find the staff. Like it's not like let's look at it in 6 months' time. Let's look at it this week, every week. And we do. We have someone in our office is constantly, Charlotte, looking at like job applications. They're live all the time. Job Aura, Indeed, Seek, Backpacker websites, So there's a lot of projects where we've gone, wow, like, let's try and get this one. But because we're quoting 100 plus projects a week some weeks, or back even 5 years ago, it might have been 50 projects a week, we don't know which one's going to sign up. And so we get a lot that might come in a week and go, we want it, 5 in a week.
Oh, that's a challenge, isn't it? Because then you're like, you want to win the work and then you're kind of fingers crossed going, we want to win those 10.
Yeah.
Or because you know that you could probably only take on X percentage of that 50 or 100 that you've quoted. Yeah. What a challenge. And to keep you up at night, that's for sure.
Yeah, because every product's different. Every person making it's different. Every challenge of the project, location, or are we installing, are we delivering, or what it might be. But when people think of steel window design, like we're not just making a table and delivering it, which would be nice. We're making a window that has to go in an opening, and that's a whole nother dialogue in itself. So within our business, we're kind of two businesses in one, where it's a fabrication business and a sales business, like most businesses. But the difficulty we have is within the sales element of it, we have installation, glazing, site measuring, all these other elements. So people sort of go like, oh, it's just a window. And it's like, well, there's a lot that goes into that one window.
I've seen the operation. It's not just a window.
Thanks, mate.
A fair chunk of that is also, I think your engineering background definitely helps this part, is that you got to get your costs right. I know you sell a premium product that's, not for everyone, and not everyone can afford steel windows in their homes and whatnot. But you still got to get the pricing right. The thing that I was so impressed with you, it was the first time I don't know, maybe the first time I met you, the second time I met you at the factory, you showed me how you costed your product. And for someone that's maybe not done an accounting degree or finished university, I was so impressed, and I'm still impressed to this day, your system of being able to work out literally, I reckon, to the cent, how much a product costs you. You did that early days and you had a system. It was probably Excel and Word combined with some automation sort of built in with some macros, but you did that so well. Can you tell me how you did that? What was that story? Because I'd love to know, and for our audience that's listening, what made you get into that world of making sure that every single cent of that product was accounted for?
Yeah, you always make me feel good too, by the way. Like I do remember showing you that document.
Yeah.
And I still remember the feeling I got when you were like, this is good. Like,
I
James, I didn't expect this.
Not at all. I was like, we need to turn that into software.
Yeah, you did. You actually said that. And that's why I'm like, I'm always humbled by that. And timing, I guess, is everything. But we're actually redoing all our software again. So, when I say software, like we're talking Excel. We've got AI now, though.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, I didn't have AI 11 years ago. Like,
you had the pegs and the stuff, and it was awesome. But yeah, tell me about that.
For full transparency too, like my background back then was not in Excel. So at the time, the business partner I had, her husband was like a bit of a guru with Excel. So full transparency, like that wasn't me. But what was me was when they used to do it in their old company, and the way it was sort of structured is you had a document for the fabrication company. So you'd quote for the fabrication company and you'd quote to sell the window and door to your clients.
Okay.
So you was trying to match up these two costs always. And if the costs were wrong, who's going to wear the cost? So it's obviously the steel window company, but the relationship was a bit confusing back then for this other company. So when I saw it, I'm like, you guys don't have continuity between what you're quoting, where it's going, and how much it's costing. So what I brought to the table was, let's quote down to the dollar. Like, let's work it out. Like, if we're going to run a business from day one, let's work out what it costs. Like, if you want a window, how long does this weld take and how long should it cost? And I actually did get a lot of help while doing that from the fabrication team that I was most wanting to use at the very beginning of starting steel window design. So I was working with another company indirectly, just as sort of friends. Like, they were really nice guys, cool dudes. And yeah, long story short, we was like, how can we work out how this costs? So I would go home at night and literally think about a corner weld or an intersection weld. I'd go back the next day and go, guys, how long would it take you to do that intersection weld? let's do 6 in a row and see 45 seconds or a minute 30, or it uses this much material. The grinding time takes X amount of time. And so then I would go back and go, I reckon that's worth $45. And then I'd try and work it out. Wages, electricity, insurances. And I was trying, and people think I'm crazy. Oh, $45 for a weld. I could do that in 3 minutes. Like, it should be $5. And you're going like, that's great, but I want to stay in business. Like,
Yes.
I want to have a car that can deliver that. Or I want to have a trailer that can hold that window frame, or not paying the ATO or something, fun like that.
I remember it was just amazing. What I remembered, I'll never forget, you built in every little component to the point where how long does it take to quote the job was built into the pricing, because obviously when you quote a really big job, it takes longer to quote and figure it out. It was so well organized. You were never going to go broke. I was scared though, I have to say. I was scared about the sales side of things.
Yeah.
Like, because when you end up priced, working out exactly how much everything costs, it can scare you to a point where like, how much am I going to charge for this?
Yeah.
So you didn't compromise on the pricing either because of the quality. But take us through the growth of the business. So you now got this premium product, to the cent how much it costs you. So that would have scared you as well. Take us through the sales part. Did you have salespeople in the business? How did you go from zero to where you are today? What was that like? And what was the channels you used? Was it digital marketing? Was it knocking on doors? What was that?
Yeah, these are great questions. Like when I started, we had Google AdWords. Got to remember, like 2014 and 15 was me in a lounge room. Sounds like not very glamorous, but in an office, which I converted our dining room to an office. 2 computers, paint that picture there. I was on the phones. I was networking with architects and designers. I had some clever ways how to, contact them, in the sense that let's look on the internet. Let's see who's out there. Let's send some emails that don't sound like cold calls. Like, let's send some phone calls. Let's talk to the junior architects. Don't worry about the big dogs, or the really important people. Let's just talk to whoever wants to answer the phone. We got out there. Like, it was the illusion of being big before we were big. So that was not going to say it's a secret, but that was the secret to our success. Was we were always busy. We always seemed busy. To clients and potential customers and clients, we always were busy. Whether we were or we weren't was a different, conversation. But I remember I was sitting in my lounge room one day, and this job was going to go ahead. And I hoped. It was in the early days, 2014, 2015. And he's like, I need you to come into the office today. Do you have time? And I'm sitting there in my lounge room looking around. There's a dog in the bed. There's me. I'm looking around. And I'm like, actually, my schedule's full today. I had to say it. I couldn't say, I'll be there right now. Let's do this. Yes. So anyway, I said to him, look, I can't do today. My schedule's jammed. Even tomorrow, it's going to be hard. I'll see if I can. And he goes, what about tomorrow afternoon? I'm like, I can fit that in. So I remember going to his office, dropping off some hardware. And, I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just a jam-packed schedule. But there wasn't the work. We weren't there. And I think that created the illusion of like, companies doing a bit better than it was. We were never doing badly, but we wanted more work. We needed more work to be able to get those subcontract fabricators to, want to do our work. We had to really. So I worked hard in those first few years for sales. It was all me. And AdWords. Google AdWords was the secret to my success. And you've got to remember too, these were when these platforms were really coming up. They weren't what they are now. Like now, a business getting in now is a different challenge than it was 11 years ago. And 11 years ago, I was paying $1,000 a month on Google AdWords or $1,500 a month. That to me seemed like a big deal. With inflation, it feels like $1,500 won't buy me a coffee soon.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Let's talk about leadership and people. People drives our businesses. People make what our businesses are. What would you say your leadership style is like in terms of managing people, leading a team, selling the vision and the purpose and the beautiful product you built? Tell us your take on leadership.
Yeah, so we promote in our business, say this year and in the last couple of years, like we're trying to grow the existing people who are in our business. We always have. From a very early age in the business, like I met a person called Dan. He's a good friend of mine. He's been in the business for 9 years, coming up 10 years. And it's finding the people that not necessarily passionate, but are passionate enough to care about what they're doing. And like Dan's certainly someone like that. Other people in our business, we've got some really good like emerging leaders in our business who are passionate or care, and they're doing a fantastic job. And so for us, it's been really looking after and nurturing whoever's in our business. So we don't mind where you're from, what you do. If you've got a good attitude, we can work with that. And so that's been our success. We sponsor people from different countries. We work hard with the people we've got. to sort of give them a new opportunity. And I'm not saying we're some charitable organization, but it's what we try and essentially achieve is just doing the absolute best for our staff. And that's really kept us in the realm of staff retention is really high. We've got 7 years, 10 years, it's a great sort of dynamic in our team. But the leadership element is we're actually working on that a lot more now. So in the early days, because we were a small business sort of coming up. So 5 years ago, there was probably 8 or so of us. Now there's 22. In 5 years, we've doubled, but it's sort of, I can see in the next 1 year, we might be 25, 26. So now it's on that sort of sharper sort of incline. The leadership becomes very important. And it's always sort of been me trying to impart leadership. Now it's sort of like I'm trying to impart that to leaders to lead other, elements of the business. And that's just becoming fun. Like it feels enjoyable to be teaching and working with other good leaders. Whereas I think 5 years ago, it was just me worrying about everything, doing everything, wanting a bit of feedback, not getting it always. Now I'm starting to get some good feedback and it's good.
And as business owners, especially when we start up, we do everything. We're the marketing person, we're the salesperson, we're the accountants and all the rest of it. And part of the growth journey is starting to employ staff and delegate that stuff. How did you go with stepping away from those tasks? You're a bit of a control freak. Did you get to a point where you're like, no, I can't let go? Were you, cutting steel? Are you cutting steel? Like, how was that journey for you and how important was that to let go for your growth?
I would cut steel if I had to.
That's good.
Definitely would still, but I don't want to. There's certain different channels. Like let's look at accounting in our business. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to an accountant who I like. Let's talk about that though. Like let's outsource accounting, right? Like that's year 1, year 2, you go, let's outsource. Then you grow a little bit more and you go bookkeeping, insurances, all the really fun stuff. So I handled, say, insurances early days. And then turns out your business incorporates insurance, brokers and stuff. So for me, it's like there's certain elements that are a lot easier to outsource than others. You start to sort of get like a team that can start to look after that. I think that happens when you grow, but in hindsight now with resources like in companies like yours, you can go to a company and say like, what's your expertise? What can you help me do? And then you've got staff and then you've got other like suppliers and other things where you can go, I might delegate this. And for me, I think over the years, like I'm not like a do-it-all or a micromanager, but there was an element of me at the start of the business. You have to micromanage yourself. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing the bookkeeping, or I'm worrying about my BAS or GST, and I'm probably doing a really poor job of it. It's not my skill. I just have to do it. As you grow, you sort of like, well, hang on, let's outsource certain things. And for me, it's like I'm getting better at that. I'm getting a team that is taking on those delegation tasks and are delegating to their peers, and that's becoming liberating. And I think there's a lot in a business that you've got to focus on that delegation element, but you can't necessarily do it until you can. And that's sort of like a cafe, I guess, is always going to be able to delegate unless you're the only person in the cafe. The chef's not going to delegate, to the guy on the floor serving the coffees, but you know what? The coffee machine might delegate to the person on the floor. In our business, like for me, what am I going to delegate if it's, should I do this thing or not? Should we take this risk? Should we spend money doing that? It's like, it's hard to delegate some of the tasks I've had, but as we've grown, it's a lot easier and there's more tasks to delegate.
Let's talk about innovation because it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment with AI and all that stuff coming in. But technically, you're manufacturing windows. What do you see happening in the manufacturing sector, specifically in your industry, manufacturing products into the construction industry? Are you excited by those trends? Are you seeing things that you can potentially incorporate? Are there these robotic machines that can weld or fabricate? Can you take us through sort of your thinking as a entrepreneur and a CEO of this organization and where you see technology playing a big part?
Yeah, I think there's 2 streams of innovation. And the reason I say that is in business for us, like we're obviously manufacturing stuff, there's a lot of equipment we can buy that might automate some of our tasks. A saw that automatically cuts steel, but we still need an operator. So there's innovation, but it's not really going to save our business a lot of money necessarily until we're 2 or 3 or 4 times bigger than we are now. So there's different streams of innovation. I'm seeing better equipment, better stuff, sort of technology within the manufacturing side of things. What we try and innovate within our business is task time and efficiencies and products that sort of tie together to create efficiencies. But then there's the other side of innovation, which is like you're saying, AI, technology around that software, writing documents for your business. Like if I have to write like a document on HR for policy documents, all that sort of stuff. In the old days, it was just hours, or I'd outsource it to somebody. Now it's just done. Like I go to AI, I might pay $30 a month and have the best quality AI, and we've got policy documents galore. Like our business is really well structured now in terms of documentation. That innovation is fantastic, and I can see some massive promises ahead there for automation of some quite menial tasks that cost a business a lot of money. Might be doing boring paperwork, like I'm saying, or talking to somebody on the phone where it's like answering generic questions. We could have a potentially an AI program to do that, chatbots on internet, like lots of different things. Within the manufacturing side of it, I see it getting more innovative, but it's sort of, there's two tiers. There's the top tier, Google's, and then there's the rest of us. And I don't know how innovative it really is for the rest of us at the moment, other than there's some good equipment coming out of, China and Germany and different countries. But is it really innovating what we do? I'm not sure. Like, I think if you're talking production line, there's some probably great stuff out there. For us, because it's quite bespoke, it's harder to sort of say innovate and turn it into an automated process. But what we can do is innovate ourselves and work out how to, reduce time in certain jobs that we're doing. There's some innovation to be had, but it's sort of coming more from software, I find, at the moment, or products, like smaller sundry sort of products, like grinding discs and stuff like that. There's some good stuff. But again, I could digress and go all day about how quality goes up on certain products and then it just drops off.
Now, if you could go back to the young James, back in his, table at home with a dog on the couch and whisper in his ear, what would you say to him now?
Don't be so uptight. I say that because in business, the whole time you're in business, you're taking risk, right? And so you're taking a lot of risk. Be cautious with the risk, of course, but maybe I've been a little bit too cautious. And I've heard you even say to me, sometimes you're like, James, you're not in a growth startup phase anymore. Like, like buy that thing if you need it or what. And I like that. I like hearing that. But I think for me, it's like when you're bouncing off the wall of yourself, like you're looking in the mirror, there's me in a business. James, what should I do? James, don't spend the money. James, sounds a bit risky. James, don't do that. I'm like, it gets a little bit of an echo chamber for yourself. And I think I probably wouldn't have necessarily wanted a business partner, but what I could have done better is more mentorship, better networking. And I'm really getting into that now, but I could have done that 5 years ago. And I think there was a little bit of risk I could have taken, but I'm not upset that I haven't. It's not something that keeps me up at night, but yeah.
And take us through the next phase of the business. I know you've got some exciting products and things happening. Some of the stuff you've shared with me, I don't know if you want to share now as a launch or some ideas. Is there stuff coming in the pipeline of where you're going to take Still Windows design from a product range perspective, and what does the future look like?
I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but we've got a few cool things happening, and I'm always moving the finish line. I like to create more work for myself. So we're going to have our normal Still Window design range, which is like custom. Literally everything we do is custom. There's no website to sort of necessarily pick something off the shelf. And we love that. We love that's what we've created. Like clients from all over Australia pick essentially whatever they want in their head and we build it. And we've created a niche within a niche to do that. And we don't drop our quality for anybody. Then what we're starting to look at doing, which we'll be launching very soon, is more readily available off-the-shelf range. So we're going to have 3 tiers essentially. We're going to have in Still Window design. We're going to have a more readily available. I need a door. It's this size. I picked it off the website. It says it'll be ready in 6 weeks, or 4 weeks, but we still have to make it. But we're not doing shop drawings for it. We're not going out and measuring, but it's exactly what the client wants. It's just we're saving them money because we're not having that labor-intensive conversation about, designing and going out to site to measure it. And we might not even install it. Their builder might install it. We can pre-glaze it. So that's something we've sort of innovated in our business is we glaze our windows and doors before they leave our factory if clients choose us to. And then we've got some other cool stuff where we're looking further abroad, where we've got essentially another range to compete with some of our competitors, where it's going to come from overseas. Like we're going to have a range where we're going to have a new brand essentially launching a more cost-effective range. And the reason it's cost-effective is because it's coming from overseas. And that's going to be fun too. We're sort of, for years, like the target's on our back. Like I can't tell you definitively we're the biggest in Australia manufacturing steel windows and doors. I like to think we are. If we are, the target's on our back. And I kind of get sick of people importing products and saying, hey, it's the same as Still Window design, because it's not.
So, look, we can talk for hours whenever we catch up. But my last question is to all of our listeners that are potentially entrepreneurs that have either got a business that they've just started or they're in their early phase, just entering that growth phase of their business. What's one piece of advice can you give to a young up-and-coming business owner that's starting their journey now?
Starting or in the growth phase?
Maybe in the growth phase. A year, 2 years, they've got the business going, they're making money, and now all of a sudden they're growing. What advice would you have for that person?
My instant reaction to that question would be cut out all the stuff that's not working straight away. Like, don't persist on the stuff that's not working, because if you've got stuff that is working, by all means, like, push that. It's working, grow that. The stuff that's not working, just don't focus as much time on it unless you really, you have an indication that it's going to be the next big thing. Fair enough. Like, I haven't invented the next big thing. I don't plan on in steel window design inventing the next big thing, but I have been very good at sticking to what we know. And I've had people over all the years say, hey, James, you should do furniture. And
I think I told you that.
yeah, no, which I respect. But this is where, like, maybe I could have done different in business. Is like, James, you should go into lighting. I've had clients, I've been installing windows. This might be 5-6 years ago, installing windows in a job in Toorak. Oh, your product's stunning. You should do lighting. I'm going to show you this book. Look at all the lighting in here. Look at what they sell it for. And I think, wow, like, that's amazing. A light for $20,000. Wow. No, I won't do it though. Like,
No.
I don't know lighting. Like, I'll let the lighting guys or girls do lighting. I'll stick to what I know. And I think if you're in that growth phase, is surround yourself with good people. And again, I'm not just saying this because of the podcast. Have a good accountant. I could have told you a story about why I met Savan and why I really, truly value Savan's business and his mentorship and all that sort of stuff. But have a good accounting team and have good support. Have a good insurance broker. If you're going to talk about loans or overdrafts, take your banker out for a coffee. Like, get to know these people because you're going to need it. And in that growth phase recognize you're in the growth phase, enjoy it. But then when you're out of the growth phase, get your accountant to slap you over the back of the head.
Love it.
It's important.
I love it. James, it was a pleasure having a chat with you formally on the podcast. It's been so good working with you. I've thoroughly enjoyed the journey that you've been on. I know that you can take this to anything, and I want to be part of that journey, and I look forward to seeing how that plays out.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've always looked up to you, so thank you. I really appreciate it.
This is The Bottom Line, a show designed to help Australian businesses succeed. This podcast was produced by accountancy firm Alexander Spencer. At Alexander Spencer, we've been helping business owners realise their goals since 1952, and we play a pivotal role in developing, implementing, and supervising the business goals and strategies of our clients. To find out how we can help your business succeed, head to our website, alexanderspencer.com.au. To make sure you don't miss an episode of The Bottom Line, be sure to subscribe to or follow the show in your podcast app. And while you're there, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps others find the show. I'm Savan Tuna, and we'll be back next episode with more tips to help you transform your business. And that's The Bottom Line.